Welcome back to the Investor Minded Framework. In this video, we're going to be talking about one of the last stages of the process. We're talking about the first 30 days of you owning that property and considerations to scale. My hope is that you are interested in scaling because one of the things that a lot of people find out in real estate is that scaling is one of the best ways of reducing taxes. Taxes are the one thing you will not be able to get rid of, and that is why it is a benefit when it comes to real estate. So, in the first 30 days, one of the recommendations I always give to anybody who buys any home is to change the locks. You never know who has access to that home, who has a spare key. You don't want to have a situation where you have people residing on the property that are not supposed to be there. That can only cause more headache than good. And also setting up a maintenance schedule. How often am I going to check in on this property personally? Do I have systems in place where other people are checking in on the property for me and are confident letting me know when they see an issue? That's how you can build trust with your team as well. Know that they're looking out for your best interests. Because at the end of the day, like we discussed before, by you buying that property, you are allowing them to have further employment. They're able to continue at their pursuit, if it is their passion to be an inspector, to be a contractor, all those things that they enjoy doing. You're allowing them to do that by buying that property and hiring them to do those things. Bookkeeping is very important too, and that's why it matters so much to have that maintenance schedule. Understanding that all your bookkeeping is correct. A service that I use nowadays that I didn't used to use is something called Baselane. It's gotten a little bit more prominent in the market, but I used to use apartments.com for all of my bookkeeping. Baselane has allowed me to be able to automatically bring expenses into my account rather than having to manually enter them. With apartments.com, while I still handle any leasing and uh, rental payments through apartments.com, Baselane is what I use for all my bookkeeping because it automatically tracks those expenses. If you're financially savvy, you may have used products like Empower or Mint. Mint is a bit older, and maybe even Monarch for tracking your daily expenses. If you've already got that mindset, then it transfers very, very well to the management of properties because you can keep on a schedule. With that maintenance schedule, also understand a good way of tracking your expenses can help you over the long term. If you have an automated way to bring those transactions in and you have to associate an invoice with it every time, you may just find that you missed an invoice. Maybe you need an invoice. Maybe you've overpaid. Those things that are able to help you on the bookkeeping side of things to ensure everything is in the correct place. Having a reserve account is very important as well. Having a place to keep those extra funds for that rainy day when you need them, when you have that unexpected expense come up, that water heater that goes out, that furnace that goes out, any of those things that can happen when you don't expect it. Make sure you have the funds available and keeping those funds separate from your personal expenses. There may be times when you need to fund that property management account yourself through owner contributions, but the hope is that over time, you no longer have to, and the property is able to sustain on its own. Tenant communication, making sure that you have an effective way of communicating with tenants. One of the things that I have done in my systems is I utilize Google Voice. I have my personal phone number and I registered my personal phone number with Google Voice to have a business phone number that not only allows me to communicate from anywhere with tenants if needed, aside from email, but also receive calls from tenants from anywhere if needed, and have a transcribed voicemail that is separate from my personal voicemail to expedite the process of any kind of repairs. These are things that may not matter if you're hiring a property management company, but if you're just starting out and you're self managing, these tools, having them at your disposal and knowing that they don't cost anything can be extremely helpful. I've taken the approach of trying to keep all my expenses as lean as possible. Start out with apartments.com because it didn't cost me anything. And when Baselane became an option for my bookkeeping, I moved to that because it didn't cost me anything for bookkeeping. If anything, it paid because the account that it allowed me to keep my funds in actually paid something in interest. And then Google Voice doesn't cost you anything other than what your primary phone bill costs on its own because you're getting a free extra number. Just know that it is tied to that personal number. You can forward phone calls to it even. So if I'm somewhere and I don't have access to Google Voice or my phone and I'm on my computer, I'll see a phone call coming through and I can understand that issue and get it responded to very quickly. Delegate that task to any member of my team who's able to help out. And then also rent collection, like we discussed, apartments.com, being able to automatically collect rent. I like to keep leases and rent very closely tied, all on the same platform. There are many other services out there that you can use. rent ready. Even if you grow to the point of apartments, there are other systems that are better for actual apartment complexes, but some of those also have requirements for the amount of units you have under management to use them. So that's why apartments.com clicked so well for me. Baselane is an option as well, but they also may charge a fee when it comes to rent collection for the tenants. And that is why I have not moved to that platform just yet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to research again and double check if that could be a system I can move to entirely. I just haven't grown to that point yet. I would challenge you to continue to analyze your systems, document everything. If you're doing a process, rent collection, those things, at some point you're going to delegate it to somebody else, but you want to make sure that the property is able to operate smoothly before you do so, so they're able to learn and grow without any huge bumps in the road. Documenting even through a screen recording of this process to make sure that somebody else can do exactly what you do is one of the best ways you can continue to grow and expand that business. And then we get to the growth phase itself. Other options when it comes to financing. Refinancing is something we discuss when it comes to getting rid of PMI on an FHA loan. You may find that rates drop over time. We've gone from a 7% down to a 3.5, and it makes sense for you to refinance. It could be beneficial to have that conversation with your lender as to whether or not it's beneficial to do so. 1031 exchanges is a conversation I would recommend having with your CPA. Does it make sense for me to sell these properties tax deferred to reinvest these funds into a better value asset, which would be another property, maybe an apartment complex, or consolidating into single family homes? BRRRR, which is a strategy that many investors still try to use, although it can be challenging in some markets, would be buying, rehabbing, um, and then renting, refinancing the property, and then repeating the process. So you're going to buy it, you're going to renovate that property, and then you'll refinance the property to take some cash out of the property because you could be in a position where you can withdraw funds and still meet all the financing requirements because of increasing value of the property. While commercial lending is generally where we'll see investors invest money into a property to increase the value through increased income, you could still likely do that in small multifamily as well. You just have to set your mind to it and find the right deal for it. And then we would rent that property out and we would just repeat that process. Just continue to recycle those funds through that real estate, and that can accelerate the process of investing in more real estate. That can also increase the capital you have on hand to do so to qualify for lending. Hiring property management is another option to continue to scale. Just be mindful that if you hire a manager, you will likely be managing that manager. It is one way you can consolidate your systems, but you're limited by the systems that they have at that point too. If your contractor, your plumber, your electrician is better than the ones that your property manager has, you may want to reconsider the system. Is it worth me having somebody else delegate to all these people and save myself that time if the quality of the work is lesser than what I had when I was doing it myself? Those are the questions I would like you to challenge yourself with and challenge your team with too. Understand that everybody on your team is likely looking to grow. They don't want to stay in the same place, but we don't do that unless we do it together. And so it matters to have those conversations and put those pieces together and see what we can achieve if we all do it together. At the end of the day, my goal is that your outcome would be you saying that you're building a portfolio. And we're not talking about just a portfolio of investing in stocks. We're talking about a portfolio that could be a combination of stocks, could be a combination of real assets, properties that you can pass down generationally, properties that people in later generations could be considering as funds rather than even going to college. They can decide to use those funds for an investment of their own that may even take place of the income they would have made from going to college. That could be a college experience on its own, just learning how to manage real estate. These are the compounding effects of real estate that I want you to take home after this entire process. This entire investor minded framework is meant to challenge your way of thinking. I'm sure that not everything that I've said here even scratches the surface of what it takes to invest in real estate and what you're capable of if you do so. My goal is that you can come back to me and show me the things that you did that I didn't even think of in this process. I wish you the best.